All right, let's dive into something pretty wild. A corner of forensic science where the main witnesses aren't people at all. They're tiny. You've probably seen them a million times. But believe it or not, these little creatures can solve some of the biggest crimes out there. So you arrive at a crime scene. What's the one question that trumps almost everything else? It's this: when did they die? That answer, what the experts call the post-mortem interval, it's everything. It's the foundation for the entire investigation. It can make or break an alibi, you know? It tells detectives where to even begin looking. Now, for the first day or so, maybe two, investigators have some classic methods to work with. You've probably heard of them. Things like body temperature, rigor mortis. But here's the catch. Those clues fade, and they fade fast. After about 48 hours, they're not so reliable anymore. And that can leave this huge, frustrating gap in the timeline. But that's exactly when a different kind of clock, a biological clock, really starts to shine. And what is this biological clock? Well, believe it or not, it's insects. Yeah, you heard me. Some of the most reliable witnesses in forensics aren't people, they're flies. Certain species are drawn to a body with just uncanny predictability. We're talking within minutes. So in this world, they're not pests. Not at all. They're nature's first responders, and they hold the key to cracking that timeline wide open. Okay, so the science behind this has a name. It's called myiasis. Fancy term, right? All it really means is the infestation of a body by fly maggots. Now, I know it sounds a little grim, but for forensic entomologists, this process is absolutely fundamental. It's the bedrock of their whole field. And this whole thing kicks off almost right away. Take your common housefly, Musca domestica for the scientists out there. A single fly will find a safe spot on the body, think eyes, nose, or around a wound, and lay a whole bunch of eggs. We're talking 120 to 150 eggs at a time. And right there, at that very moment, boom, the forensic clock has officially started. So why is this so powerful? One word: predictability. The life cycle of a fly isn't random. It's like a perfectly calibrated biological stopwatch. Each stage takes a certain amount of time. So if you know what stage you're looking at, you can literally work backwards and figure out when that clock started ticking. It's pretty amazing. All right, so what are these stages? It's a 4-step process. Simple, really. You've got the eggs first, then those hatch into larvae, which, we all call maggots. After that, the maggots form this hard little shell called a pupa. And finally, out pops an adult fly, and the whole cycle is ready to go again. Okay, let's put some numbers on this. Imagine it's warm out. That speeds things up. The eggs, they'll hatch in about 8 to 24 hours. Those brand new larvae, the maggots, they just eat and grow for a few days. Then they form that pupa, which lasts about 3 to 6 days. And then, another 3 to 6 days later, the adult fly comes out. So you see what investigators do, right? They get to the scene, they collect samples, and they find the oldest stage of insect. From there, it's just math. They calculate backwards, and bam, they have a really, really good estimate of the minimum time since birth. But here's where it gets even more interesting. These little guys don't just tell you the when. They can also tell you about the how. I'm serious. Where the insects are and how many there are, that can point to injuries that might have been completely missed otherwise. Think about it. Flies have instincts, right? And one of those instincts is to lay their eggs in open wounds. It's a source of food. So let's say an investigator finds a huge cluster of maggots on someone's chest, but nowhere else. Well, that's a giant red flag. It strongly suggests there was a wound there, even if after some time you can't see that wound anymore. The insects are pointing right to it. On the flip side, though, the insects can also, they can mess with the evidence. Imagine thousands of maggots all feeding in one spot. All that activity can actually create holes, and as someone who doesn't know what they're looking at, those holes might look a whole lot like a gunshot wound or a stab wound. It's a real pitfall. And that brings us to a really critical point. You can't just guess at this stuff. There's a huge risk of misinterpreting what you see. The changes that insects and other animals make to a body are called artifacts. And the danger is that these artifacts, things that happened after death, can look an awful lot like injuries that happened before death. You absolutely need an expert to tell them apart. And hey, it's not just about flies. Other insects show up to the party too. Take ants. As ants feed, they can create these little marks on the skin. You'll often see them in places like the eyelids or armpits. And what do they look like? They look almost exactly like the kind of scrapes or abrasions someone might get in a struggle. See the problem? So how on earth do they tell the difference?
Well, an expert knows exactly what to look for. An injury that happened while someone was alive, that's an antemortem injury, is going to show signs that the body was trying to heal, bleeding, scabbing, that kind of thing. But the marks from ants feeding after death, there's no vital reaction, none. You get out a hand lens, and the truth is right there. Tiny, crescent-shaped bite marks. That's not a struggle, that's just nature doing its thing.
Okay, so we've got all this amazing science. But how does it play out in the real world? How does it go from a crime scene to a courtroom? Because that's the real test, right? This evidence has to hold up under scrutiny, where it can literally change someone's life. And its importance, its medico-legal importance, is just huge. First, it pins down that time of death, which helps police narrow their search. Second, it can completely destroy or confirm a suspect's alibi. But maybe the most important thing of all is that when a victim can't speak for themselves anymore, these insects do. They provide objective, biological evidence, and that is incredibly hard to argue with. And really, that's what makes this so powerful. When every other lead has gone cold, when all the other evidence is gone or degraded, the simple, predictable, unstoppable life cycle of an insect takes the stand. It's how forensic entomology gives a voice to those who can no longer speak, making sure their final story gets told.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? What other secrets are out there, just hidden in plain sight all around us in the natural world? What else is just waiting for us to figure it out, ready to help us solve our biggest mysteries?